Hello and welcome to Needing a Meeting Point 2.0. I don't know what happened. I was talking away, just blabber blabber, and it just all of a sudden the screen went black here on Restream, where the streaming service that I'm using, and it said that we were shut down. So I don't know if that's something that YouTube did or Restream did. Nonetheless, I apologize. Hopefully everybody will be back in here in a minute. That was in here. Let me see. Yeah, Heather, it's a mystery. Hi, One with Cat Shell. Hey, this is my second attempt. Did Restream shut down or YouTube shut me down? One or the other. I don't know what happened.
Oh no, that's not good.
I was talking about boundaries and and how I first learned of mine and all that good stuff. Hopefully Plant Freak can get back in here.
This is interesting. I'm not seeing this on YouTube, but obviously you got comments.
Yeah. So let's see. Bring up YouTube.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
okay,
nice.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I don't know what happened, but hopefully Plant Freak will be back in here because anyway, I wanted to talk about boundaries, saying no when you need to, speaking up for yourself when you need to. And I was in my early 30s when I even first learned what boundaries were and figure out that I had a right to them. And I wasn't in the cult yet, but it was the first church that I started going to when I first got sober. And when I figured out that AA wasn't going to be a good long-term solution for me a few months in. And I just needed something more, and church felt like that was what the need was. And looking back on it, I think it was, and there's some things about it that, I could have gone differently, but they didn't, But the church that I was in had an adult singles group, and a lot of us were in our late 20s, early to mid 30s, even 40s. And there were a lot of us. It was a pretty big group of singles. And we would meet for Sunday school and then go to the main church for the main church time. And one day he just started talking about something that had to do with boundaries. And I was just like, whoa, you mean that's a thing? And I can have them, And when I first started learning to, state my boundaries, I was really aggro and it was really emotionally charged and I was pretty intense. But it was scary. It was very scary because it was so foreign, There she is. I was 22 when I learned boundaries. My ex-husband hated the new me and we divorced. Thank goodness. Yeah, Heather.
So is this the cult where you learn boundaries, or is this
before? No, this is pre-cult.
Oh, okay.
It's the church that I started going to right after I left AA.
Okay.
And
I was thinking that didn't sound like the same place.
No. It was a couple that was kind of over the singles group, the adult singles group, and they were pretty savvy, and they would talk about things that really were relevant to us, not just preached at us. And I learned a lot from them. I really did. They were pretty neat. Uh-oh.
Good.
Freak this out again. Hi, Anik. I'm only 43 now. I am learning about setting boundaries. Yes, Matrix Rabbit. It's a big one. you know,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's really the only way to be healthy
Yeah.
emotionally.
Yes.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it's the biggest way, and you know, I really believe that
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
really did not start maturing emotionally at all until
Yeah.
I started having boundaries and stating them and
Mhm.
setting them and not letting people cross them, you know?
Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was a whole new world.
Yeah.
I don't know, Allison, what the heck happened. I was talking and all of a sudden my screen went black, and I don't know if Restream shut me down or YouTube shut me down, but somebody shut me down. So your guess is as good as mine, Allison. Sorry about that.
And
Thank you
then
for coming back though.
and then I couldn't get back in with my phone, so I've gone to the laptop. If I'm a little bit choppy or something, it's because I had to switch devices.
Okay.
You actually look fine.
Yeah, I can
Okay,
hear
good.
you and I can see you. So yeah. So
Excellent.
yeah.
That is interesting. Did you find now when you were in the cult, you didn't set any, you don't think, or
Oh
did you?
yeah. No, I did.
Oh,
I still
interesting.
did, you know. I
Oh,
mean, I still had a life outside of church,
mm-hmm.
you know. And
Well,
even in the church, you know, eventually I had to state boundaries, you
oh,
know.
wow.
Mhm.
How was
And
that for you?
well, you know, I really didn't put two and two together
Mm,
why the pastor would come in during prayer time and just dagger me with his eyes, and I'd be like, what the heck did I do, you know? Well, I had the nerve to
Mhm.
set boundaries,
yep.
and I had the nerve
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
give, to budget giving and give within my means. The
Mm.
nerve. I didn't even figure
Oh,
out that that could have been the possible thing until like just within the last couple of weeks.
really? Wow.
Yeah. You
Mhm.
know, it was just until then it was just a mystery why he was doing it, but now it makes perfect sense, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, I started saying no to
Hmm.
extra work after, you know, because I had to drive an hour in to church and drive an hour back, and then I still had work at 8 o'clock in the morning,
Oh,
you know, and work a full day, and and it was I was burned out, and it was kicking my behind, and you know, and I realized, you know, being burned out in your spiritual life when that
Mhm.
was so important to me,
yeah.
it was big. But
Mhm.
yeah, that was the beginning of the end. That was the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, when
Mm.
I did that.
Mhm.
How do you? What were you doing when this realization came to you a couple weeks ago? You,
Uh, I don't even know. Something
mm.
around the house, probably.
Oh, wow,
I
that's
get my
interesting.
best thinking done when I'm doing stuff, or when I'm just, you know, doing a mindless cleaning with the house, you know.
Mhm.
And now that
Mhm.
my meds are straight, I've got that
Mm.
part of my life
That's interesting.
kind of in a good place now, you know.
Mhm.
How did
And
Mhm.
do you remember how you felt when you suddenly realized that?
like, oh,
Mm, okay.
I see now. I see why the
Mhm.
daggers.
So, but you moved beyond the anger then. Then you're dealing with the realization more than anything.
You know, I mean, I have my angry moments, but I wouldn't say that overall I was angry about the cult because I volunteered.
Mm, mm,
Mhm.
You know,
yeah.
I was all in of my own volition,
Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know. So if I'm mad at the cult, you know, I have to I may be pointing at the cult, but I got these other three fingers pointing right back at me, you know.
That's why my dad always pointed this way.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm serious.
I like that.
He always
Yeah.
Yeah.
a little levity.
That was
And
that
I
was That's one thing in body language. Apparently, pointing is very bad in almost all cultures. So yeah, I've
Right.
learned to use that and even point downward unless I'm pointing toward. But I don't even point to people. Just like you. Oh, here we go.
Sort yourself out.
Ding.
She's pointing.
I was waiting. I've been
That
watching her head turn.
that's a point.
I will point at him. He knows.
Monique says, strangely enough, I really taught myself about setting boundaries in my own way, watching Cesar Milan shows years ago. Yes, the dogs.
Mm,
Yeah, I can see that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I
that
can
makes
totally
sense.
see
You
that.
have to have a lot of boundaries around animals, especially the bigger animals, horses and things like that. Otherwise, you could really get hurt. So, I think that's beautiful. If that's how you learned it, that's amazing. That's the most
Yeah,
interesting way. That is the most
yeah,
interesting way I have ever heard of anybody learning boundaries. But that's
That's awesome.
that's a good point. And on that note, my dad, he used to train horses, and he'd say, only do what needs to be done to get your point across. So if you don't have to scream and yell, don't scream and yell. So that's
Mm,
why I tell my dog to sort himself out. So animals are a great teacher of things, but
yeah,
that's
they are.
amazing.
Yeah,
About the
it
boundaries.
is.
That's
It is.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I figured out I needed boundaries, but the boundaries were getting steamrolled, and I didn't know how to uphold the boundaries when I figured out I needed them. And I
right.
had to have been in my early 30s when I figured out I needed boundaries.
Yeah,
And then it was like, oh, well, they're just getting steamrolled. So what am I supposed to do? And it was just getting frustrated. But now I don't have to fight for for the boundaries I'm placing to be respected because I'm choosing to have respectful people in my life.
yeah,
That's the
Mhm.
big difference. I had somebody who didn't have those boundaries, and all of a sudden they showed up and they're like, what is this? No, no. I just
Right.
didn't realize I needed them.
Well, and
have you
I
guys
think the
heard
other side of
of kids? I have not heard about the study with preschool kids and boundaries. Anyway, go ahead.
oh
Has anybody
no,
here heard
I
of it?
I haven't. No, that would
No.
be interesting.
Anyway,
Um,
sorry, I keep interrupting.
no, I was going to say, we talk a lot about, us setting boundaries for ourselves, but I think it's important too to talk about when other people set boundaries on us and being able to respect those
Respect them.
and to
Yeah,
to treat them the way, like, irrespective of whether we agree with their boundary or not. And maybe it's our children, maybe it's a parent or something like that, where it's a little difficult. When people set boundaries on us, I think we need to be respectful of those. We need to be
yeah,
understanding of those, and we need to make sure that we're mindful to do that, because as hard as it is for us to set boundaries on other people, it's just as hard for them to set boundaries on us. So modeling for them, okay, you set this boundary, I'm going to respect it. That's important too. So if someone has come to you and set a boundary for you, sit with that and think on those things, and then be as respectful with it as you can. I mean, as long as it's healthy, and I mean, of course, all the things, like, if it's unhealthy, then, but I think that's the other side of the coin
yeah,
we
mm,
don't talk
Yeah.
about, because sometimes boundaries, that's
yeah.
all.
yeah,
And I think in that situation I was describing, I was having a hard time respecting boundaries because I was thinking very transactionally. If you're
Mhm.
not going to respect mine, why should I respect yours?
mm,
Mhm.
So it's not something that I chose to learn at that point in time either. So
Mhm.
that
yeah,
was, and I agree, that was a whole different learning curve as well, to be able to
Mhm.
respect somebody else's boundaries and to not be pushy or steamroll theirs.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Sometimes other people's boundaries can be used against you, though. Like, just say that
Mhm.
you're in a conversation that turns into an argument, and they're like, "No, I don't want to talk about this anymore because it's turned into an argument. And so that's the boundary that they've set, but there's still nothing ever gets resolved because there's an argument behind it, sort of thing, you know. And so that I've found that generally that's what's happened to me, is that people cut me off. That's their boundary. And it's just like, okay, I try and respect it, but then I'm still lost trying to frame myself.
Right.
I have a feeling that the boundaries that were placed on me is going to end up that way, where it's not ever actually going to be resolved. But, you know, the only thing I can do is what I said I was going to do, which is respect those. And I just am going to have to live with the fact that this person that I love very dearly and meant the world to me might not ever talk to me again.
Yeah.
But it's more important to me to respect the boundaries. Like, I haven't even liked a comment on Facebook or Snapchat or anything that they've put up.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing, you know. It is difficult because you do want to respect the boundary, but there's also there's no closure or anything, and all that sort of stuff. So,
and it's hard to, you know, like if it's your child that said it, you know, it's hard to see your grandkids and not be able to say anything, you know. So then at that point, you know, what do you do? So again, as long as it's a healthy boundary, but you know, might not ever be resolved in a way I hope it is. But one thing that I learned from all of you guys is that I've got to be, you know, I need to accept that that's where they're at, and it doesn't mean it's where I'm at. But and I was talking to my friend the other night, I probably won't ever get to ask the questions that I really want to ask, but I have to be okay with that. You know, I have to be okay with that in my head.
That's where the thing comes in. Who's the closure for?
You know, I wonder if there can be a revisiting of whether or not that's a healthy boundary at some point.
You know, I hope so. But you know, after looking at everything a little bit deeper, you know, I don't know, because how do you revisit that? You know what I mean? If somebody comes to you and says, you abused me, and you don't remember it, and then how do you? And I mean, I'm being genuine. Like, this is what I asked my friend. How do you do that? How do you graciously have that conversation of saying, I don't remember this. Help me to understand so we can get some closure. You worked through it, but I haven't, because I don't remember it. And again, I'm not discrediting or saying that it's made up or anything like that. I'm not doing any of that. I don't know it. So truthfully, I don't know how somebody comes to you after that. Like, what do you say? And then I mean, I understand I have the right to have the conversation and ask the questions and say, okay, you had a chance to go to therapy and go through this. I didn't. So help me to understand this. I don't know that conversation maybe will ever happen. I really don't.
Well, see, I had literally that conversation last night with my old housemate, you know, like one, it was about putting boundaries in place and how he keeps overriding them and doesn't matter what I say. And this is, I actually had to tell him that his addiction is affecting our friendship because it's like, and that was so difficult because I've been trying to tell him in nice ways for a long time. And yesterday I said it in a way that probably, I think, like Carol said, I'm now putting my boundaries in place and I'm being a little bit too aggressive about it.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm not,
okay.
I haven't quite got the grace, yet to do it. And I'm also going through my own stuff. So it's just
sometimes people don't give you, some people don't give you the opportunity to get and to have the grace.
Yeah. But he also doesn't remember some of the things that he's done. And I said, just because you don't remember it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
That's right.
You know, because people see things from different perspectives, and what's important on one particular day might not be important to you, you know. So that's something that might have affected them greatly. You might not remember it. I don't know what the circumstances are. You don't have to go into it. But in this particular one, I can't remember what it was about last night. It was just like, he was annoying me. So I just let everything go. And it was, and it's so frustrating to me because it's like, I remember everything and he doesn't remember any of it. And so he just disregards it as it didn't happen. And it just feels like I'm being called a liar.
I want to ask you about that, Cosmic, if it's okay, because that's kind of what I'm dealing with. So I had a situation where someone told me that I one time abused them, and I choked them because they asked for a cracker. And it was a small child, and I do not remember it. And I don't remember it. There are huge sections, like there's 5 years that I don't remember because of the medication I was on for my misdiagnosis. This person knows that I don't remember it. Now, what I did was I said, and they told me specifically that I was the reason, I was the direct cause of their anxiety, their OCD, and their ADHD. And so I didn't disvalidate any of that. I said, I'm sorry I traumatized you. I do not remember this, but you know, I'm very, very sorry that you're living with this. I'm not mad. I'm proud of you for coming to me. I'm proud of you sharing this with me. I'm proud that you're going to therapy. I will respect your boundaries. I will not reach out until you reach out. And the person sent me a video the very next day and said, thank you for apologizing. And I have not reached out. So what my question is, and I mean this in a genuine way because I truly want to understand. What are you angry about? Like, what in your situation made you angry about the person not remembering? Is it because you felt unvalidated? Or is it because like this person said, well, you just went on with your life? And I truly didn't remember it. And like I said, I didn't tell them, oh, no, this didn't happen. I really don't know. So what was I really want to understand, like, what made you the most angry that they didn't remember? Were they flippant and mean about it? Or what?
Flippant and mean. They didn't give me at all the same response you did, which was like, I'm sorry that I did that, even though I don't remember, which would have been, and that would have calmed right down. I would have been like, oh, okay, I feel a bit validated. He actually apologized for something for once. You know, that's never going to happen anyway. But, you know, that would have been a really nice response for me. I would have calmed right down. But different people, different situations, I don't know.
Right.
And I think for me, it comes from a trauma response of never being believed, never being validated. You know, every time I ever say anything to anyone who's ever done anything to me, it's like, no, I didn't, or it didn't happen that way. And it's just like, but why would I remember it this way? And it's not like I've, you know, sure, I've had some brain trauma and all that sort of stuff, but it's not so significant that I don't have large chunks of my life that I don't remember. You know, I just don't. And sure, I might have some nights I don't remember from being blackout drunk, but even then, I still remember everything up until that moment. And I have flashbacks. So it's just like how for me, I find it really difficult to understand when people hurt somebody else and they don't remember. But I also must have done that to my children as well. You know, like there must be some instances where I've said or done something that's really traumatized them and I don't remember because I might have been having a bad day and something else might have been in my mind that day. And so I'm waiting one time for my kids to come at me with something. And you know, even if I don't remember, I'll take it. I'll sit there because I won't do to them what's been done to me.
Right. Well, and that's what I told this person. I want to treat you the way I would want to be treated, you know. And the reason I don't remember, just for clarification for anybody that's listening that didn't hear this the first time I shared it, I was misdiagnosed as bipolar, and I was on 2,000 milligrams of Depakote, 10 milligrams of risperidol, and I was on a really heavy duty sedative. So it is not that I don't remember this one thing. There's a lot I don't remember. And there's things that I have pictures of that actually happened that I have no memory of. There are, and I was full-blown anorexic. I was in an extremely narcissistic, abusive relationship. So there was a lot going on there. So it's not like I blocked it out. It's that I don't remember the good or the bad. And it makes me feel bad because I don't remember it, and I can't. I mean, I apologized for the trauma, but I can't give a genuine response. But I'm going to respect the boundaries because I want to model that behavior of, okay, you think this is where you are and what you need, and I'm going to give that to you even though I don't understand it. So I'm still trying to. I've forgiven myself for not remembering, and I understand that it was a misdiagnosis, and that was a lot of medication over 5 years, and it was a lot of therapy and a lot of stuff. I'm just trying to kind of figure out for me, like, what that person must be feeling, how that feels, because maybe if I understand how that feels, then I can answer some of the questions that I might not get answered.
One thing that you had said was, I can't give a genuine apology, but in my opinion, you are giving a genuine apology, and somebody who's been misdiagnosed as well. You are. If you don't remember it, you don't remember it, but you're respecting that they're stating this. You're respecting that this is their truth.
Right.
In my past situation, I would never have gotten a response like that. And what was triggering for me was just the denial that it happened. That was the triggering part. So I'm not saying that maybe it's not true, but maybe there's something that they need to work on before they're ready to hear that apology genuinely on their side.
Well, and I gave as genuine and an honest explanation and apology. I mean, if I did that to somebody, good Lord, that's awful, and I'm mortified by it. I mean, it broke my heart. I cried. And I'm truly sorry for that, but I felt so bad because I believe that if you're apologizing for something, you should put the action in it. Like, Cosmic, I'm so sorry that I took your pink flowers and I ran around the neighborhood with them, throwing them at people. You know what I mean? Like, not just,
I'm not.
I'll be like, oh, you're flat. Oh, and I think too, just because of who this person is, it's important to me, but it's more important to me to do what I said I was going to do and treat them with respect and dignity that they deserve. And, but I so want to understand it, and struggling to understand it. And I know that until this person is able, if ever, to sit down, and they might not even be able to explain it in some kind of way. And I don't want to make excuses.
It might be something that stems from something from when they were so young that they can't remember why they're angry about it, but they just are, and they have to work through that themselves. That's something that they have to work on themselves, why they're still carrying that, and why it's affected them so badly still, and why it's affecting them. And you're doing absolutely the right thing. You said the right thing, and the denial of it. Well, you said the right thing as far as I'm concerned. It might not have been right for them, but it was a denial that hurts. It's like, no, it didn't happen. You're not believing them. You're not remembering it right.
And and this person even said, thank you for the apology. That meant a lot. I was really afraid of how you would take this. And I was like, why would I be mad? There's huge swaths of stuff that I don't remember. And I never wanted to make an excuse. I was like, this is what was going on in my life at the time, and this is why I don't remember. And I know this person understands that to a point, but again, back to
it's an excuse and a reason. An excuse is trying to get you out of a situation. A reason, an explanation is trying to explain some of the situation as to why it could have happened in the first place. And I really think that that's a big definition and distinction that people should really try to make. Is that there's a difference between an excuse and a reason. I mean, listen to politicians; they're excusing things all the time, and that's where I kind of got the difference, know.
Right.
So there's always an excuse for things. Oh, what ifs. But when there's a reason, an actual legitimate reason, it makes it easier to take, I find, you know.
Yeah.
I
I,
also find that some people can't take that reason.
yeah.
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 It really depends on where they are on their healing path for it.
Yeah.
I don't think that some people are ready to hear the reason, whether they state they can understand it or not. I don't think that
Yeah.
some people are ready to hear the reason.
I
Exactly.
I can relate a little bit. I was on antidepressants, a fairly low dose, but it was one of the ones that they don't sell much anymore. But I lived in Phoenix for half a year working at a GIS lab, and I remember 5 or 6 parts of a day. A meeting, I have flashes of 5 or 6 different events for half a year. The rest of it, I have absolutely no recollection of, none
Yeah.
whatsoever. And so
Yeah.
that is really disturbing. It's like, what was I doing? So
Mhm.
yeah,
And
I can understand confusion about that.
Mhm.
and to have it be 5 years, I mean, I don't remember it. Like, it's just black. Like,
Yeah.
it's and so it's not, and that's the other thing is like this stuff I was on. And this is what I tried to explain to this person was, I have a normal brain. Now, I understand there's no such thing as a normal brain, but I am not bipolar. I am
Neurotypical
not.
is a
Yeah, I
diagnosis.
mean, right. I mean, I'm good. I don't have ADHD. I don't have those things. And so when you put that much medication into somebody that's designed to rewire the neural pathways anyway, and you do that, and then they're anorexic on top of it, so their brain is shutting down already. Like, I mean, I was very bad, and you're in an abusive relationship. That's all a lot of trauma right there. So any one of those things would have been enough of a trigger, but all of those things together, like, and there's no worse feeling than to just not remember anything. I mean, none of it. And that's why it was important to me to respect this person's boundaries. And I mean, I would have anyway, but to really be like, okay, this is how a healthy person responds in a healthy way to this, because this person does have some unhealthy people around them. And this is what that looks like, and just modeling that behavior. But, I don't know that I'll ever get to have that conversation of
I hope you
explain it
will.
to me deeper. I hope so. I mean, I even told this person, look, if you want me to go to therapy with you, I will. Like, give me the Zoom link. If your therapist doesn't have Zoom and you don't have it, I will buy a subscription to Zoom just for that one thing, so we can have as long a time as we need, whatever it is. And it affected through 5 other relationships of mine because of this one. And that's okay. I'm not mad. I understand sort of where everybody's coming from. And at the most I'm going to do is respect what they've chosen for themselves, because I don't get to choose what is right for other people based on what I think you ought to do. And I think that says a lot. But it's, I've been the person setting the boundaries, and I've been the person with the boundaries on you. And both are difficult places to be. So I want to encourage you, like, if you've got to set the boundaries, do it. If you can do it with love, that's great. If you can't, well, whatever you need to use to do it. And if you're the person that the boundaries are set on, be that healthy example if it's possible. To just, okay, I don't get it, but okay. And I know not everybody's going to be like that, but I'm trying to understand the other side of boundaries now, I guess.
I'm going to have to go because I'm struggling. I'm in a lot of pain. I actually found out I've got stage 3 emphysema, along with all my other stuff. So yeah, I'm just in mega pain because it's cold. Yeah, I've got a cold, but I'm hot at the same time. It's like my bones are cold. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with that. So I've got the heat pack all over me. But yeah, so I'll hopefully I'll see you tomorrow, and I will still be listening. So I love
Okay.
you.
Cosmic.
Love you.
too.
I
I
feel better. Thank you, Cosmic. I appreciate you.
appreciate you.
Hmm.
Oh, goodness.
I know.
Mm.
Yeah. When it comes to boundaries, I placed a document on the Needing a Meeting site or the Facebook
Okay.
page that I got from
Okay.
my recovery management group. I just wanted to verbalize it because I'm not sure if everybody saw it in the chat. I found it extremely helpful, and I wanted to make sure that it was easily accessible to others in case it would be helpful to them. Kind of
Hmm.
breaking down the different types of boundaries,
Oh, okay.
the 3 different ways that boundaries, like a porous boundary, can't remember all of them, rigid boundary and versus a healthy boundary. Healthy boundaries is where we want to be. Rigid is if you're just like, nope, 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 and you're not really taking into consideration the other person's side. And then porous is fawning and giving in to the other side too much.
Okay.
So it kind of breaks it down a little bit in a way that
Hmm.
helped me understand what I was doing wrong with my boundaries.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm thinking about Cosmic. I want her to be better.
Yeah,
Same.
So I'm
Yeah.
sending out ones for you, Cosmic, and I'm so sorry that you're in pain.
yeah. Yeah, that's not. Hopefully, you can maybe get some answers or find something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I have to ask Christy, your shirt, is it in relation to somebody else we know in this group?
My Canada shirt. Yeah, it's to support my Canadian peeps. I actually was digging for a shirt and trying to find something, and I found this. I bought it in 2020 when we drove to Alaska. I was like, I need a Canada shirt, and of course, Michael's like, of course you do. Like, you need a hole in your head. But I can even tell you, I got it in Dawson Creek right before we got on the Alaska Highway, and I lived in it on the way home. So all of those stories about the loonies and the toonies and the almost getting in a fight at the Sasquatch Inn in British Columbia, that was the shirt.
You love it.
But I washed
I
it,
love it.
so all of that hinky weird energy is gone. But I mean, I lived in this thing for a while, and then I found it, and I was like, okay, I can let you back into my life.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Right.
No, I love this shirt. I do. Earlier, it was just like somebody was like, "Hi from Ireland," and I'm like, "Hi Ireland from Canada," and I was just like, "Oh, they might think it's the one with like the Canada shirt on screen."
Right.
Another thing about boundaries is I think that a healthy person is going to feel more comfortable with the fact that they know where the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know for me and the person that put boundaries on me, it's at least I understand now why it was just like incommunicado. You know what I mean? Because like before, I didn't understand. I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
And again, and this is just me, and I understand that not everybody is that way, and it's good we don't have a bunch of little angry habits running around. That would not be a fun life. But for me, it made it easier to understand what I did, why, and I always do better with the truth. I mean, no matter how brutal the truth is, I would rather you set me down. And now, does it mean does it mean I'm going to handle it well? Like when this person did that, I cried, but I didn't get mad, and I didn't lose my mind, and I didn't do any of that. So it wasn't like that, but it explained a lot, and I was okay with that. Like I said, I don't have to understand your feelings. I want to, but I think mostly because of who these people are, I want to, because really I just want to hug them all, but I can't. But I do much better. And, maybe that's a lesson for everybody who's struggling with boundaries. Now, again, I understand you're not going to be putting boundaries on everybody who's like me. But at least they know. And then they sort themselves out beyond there, because not knowing is hard. I mean, to just have somebody go,
oh yeah,
it was very difficult for me. And but to have somebody say, I'm stepping away from you because blah 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 blah, then hey, what do you argue with about that? And I would recommend, if you're having difficulty setting boundaries, one thing, and this was actually advice given to me by my ex-mother-in-law to use on her son, my ex-husband, which I thought was really hilarious. But she understood. She understood. She was a crisis counselor, and she was very amazing. And she said, if you give a pat answer that is factual, cannot be argued, and is to the point, there's really nothing anybody can say. They can try to argue it with you, but again, if it's factual, people will try to argue facts, right? But if it's factual, to the point, and cannot, so I always recommend that, and that's what this person did. And so I had moments where I was very proud of what this person did and understood how difficult it was. But I would say, give yourself the love to tell that person what they did. I mean, you can set the boundary and say, I'm choosing to pull away from you for this reason. It doesn't mean you have to pick up the phone when they call back. If they do, if they're not healed or coming from a place of love for you. But they can never come back to you and say, well, you never told me why. And I told you it was because you did this. This was my boundary set. So what do you not understand? And I know that sounds really harsh. And I've seen comments where people don't like confrontation. I think there's a difference between confrontation, which to me is fighting, as opposed to just standing your ground. Like, that other person might try to be confrontational. But if you're factual, calm, and to the point, there's not really a lot of places to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
For the most part, that's true. There are some people that are really good at ducking and diving and shucking and
right.
diving.
And in my case, I found that it was because I was arguing so much. I needed to set the boundary. The boundary was a boundary that there is not going to be any more argument. We aren't going to discuss things where, I'm sorry, mother, we don't see eye to eye on this. What this breaks down into. We've discussed it a gazillion times. There's no more light in this. We're just generating heat at this point. So let's just, from now on, when you mention these topics, and it was a lot of them, and since then I've added more, it's like, I'm just going to hang up. And after a while, she began to understand my position. I would just, whenever time anything gets set up that it's something I disagree with, I can just say, let's not discuss that. And it's usually dropped.
Okay.
It's very rare now that I have to actually enforce the boundary and hang up the phone. I can just say that. And honestly, on this side of it, it's so much easier. And it is such a relief. But yeah, it was hard to put in. But I guess what I'm saying is, boundaries aren't always an argument. They can be because you are tired of arguing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a healthy way of using that one, which is the argument boundary. But then I also feel like there are some individuals, like for you, the relationship is you and your mother. But I feel, at least what I believe, is if it is partners and somebody's throwing in this, I'm done arguing, and it's because they don't want to compromise or hear the other person's opinion. They just want their way or the highway.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's very different.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I wanted to observe that point because,
Right.
you know, again, it's two different relationships. It's two different ways of dealing with people, but you're coming from the healthy side, whereas the other one is just, no, I'm not dealing with it. I'm throwing up my hands, deal with the way that I live, or deal with the consequences, essentially.
Right.
Or in a marriage relationship, I want to buy a car. Well, no. Well, we can't afford a car. Well, I'm putting in a boundary. I'm buying the car. I'm putting in a boundary. I don't want to discuss it. Well, that's being manipulative at that point. You can see right there.
Right. Right.
You know, oh, I was just gonna say my mom had to do that with my dad because they had one car and he was being unreasonable, and she was the one that was going to work every day, and he was
Oh
at
my
the
God.
farm. He was farming all day on the farm, and so she was the one. She was the earner, so she went and got herself a car.
And I
Yeah.
too about boundaries. Oh, am I unfrozen now? I've seen some people talking about boundaries with their parents. You know, I learned this, and it was one of the most impactful things I learned. And there goes Ben. There comes the title. And what it
You need it most
was,
today.
what it was to look at situations not as good and bad, because that is a lot of weight, because you can be a good person in a bad situation. Try to look at things as healthy or unhealthy. It makes it much easier for me to be able to decide how to go forward and how to even convey that. Because if you're looking at, and it was somebody's comment, and it was something about being raised not to talk that way to their parents, respect their elders and the people in religion that they were in. You know, those are all like good, you know, I mean, those are bad. You're a bad person if you stand up to those people. That's how you were taught. But if you see yourself as that, you're not a bad person for putting boundaries in if it's an unhealthy situation. So for me, taking out the good and the bad and looking at it as healthy versus unhealthy really was the most powerful thing I learned to do for myself, because it is much easier for me to say this is an unhealthy relationship than it is to say this is a bad relationship, because even unhealthy relationships might have parts of them that are good. And so it could make it difficult for you to categorize it as bad. Maybe there's only 2 good things and 500,000 bad things, but you're still going to get hung up on those 2 good things. So I really want to encourage everybody, if you're struggling with setting boundaries, if you're struggling with sharing something with someone or making a decision, try looking at it not from good and bad, but from healthy and unhealthy, and you might find it easier to express what you're wanting to express, to put those boundaries in place, and not feeling as guilty because you were taught a certain thing, if that makes sense. It helped me a lot. I don't know that it's going to help everybody, but it really helped me, because one thing was the church I grew up in, getting divorced was bad. In my family, there's only 2 people that are divorced. It's one of my uncles and myself. Divorce was bad. Well, my situation was bad, but I stayed around because I thought it was bad for me to get divorced and against my, you know, how I was raised, and it would bring shame on my family. Well, none of that was true. That was all in my head. But when I looked at it as unhealthy, this is unhealthy. In that moment, it changed. So I just want to encourage that with someone, sometimes that can help.
Yeah.
Helped me.
I'm still working on that muscle because I'm still seeing good and bad, but it's deep rooted. It's from childhood, and I'm just figuring out this whole healthy versus unhealthy. So,
Yeah.
it takes time. Like, I do want to make sure that I state that because I don't know how long now
Mhm.
I've been working on this. The first time Christy and Carol had mentioned it to me, right? This has got to be months and months and months now, and I'm still working on it. It's not something that is coming
Yeah.
really, really easily because it's so deep
Yeah.
rooted. So don't stop trying is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just as parents, it's an easy way. No, that's bad. Yes, that's good. You know, it's like fire. Is fire bad or is it good? Well, it's bad when it burns your house down. It's
Yeah.
bad if it burns up your car. It's bad if it disfigures you permanently. It's good when you need to eat. It's good when you need to stay warm. So when you take that healthy versus unhealthy, so how you would model that, it's unhealthy to burn down your house. It is healthy to cook your dinner. So that's, and now again, that's a very basic way, but that's how that would be modeled,
Yeah.
because inherently fire isn't good or bad, right?
Yeah.
Just is.
Yeah.
Christy, great point, says Shannon Smith.
Mhm.
Good point.
She's got those.
Every once in a while they show up.
More than every once in a while.
Even the ancient aliens guy would get that one.
What? A balloon with toy attached?
The sticky up haired guy. I don't even know. I need to learn how to say his name. I'm going to have to go on Google and type his name in and be like, how do you say it?
I would just put it in Google Translate and translate from whatever background he is to English and then hit the
Right.
speak button and let Google say it.
I think he's great.
Right. I think so. I still am probably forever going to refer to him as the sticky up hair guy. Horrible. But everybody knows who I'm talking about.
That's right.
See, for me, I don't get that reference because for me, Sticky Hair Up Guy was I didn't watch MTV a lot because we had much music in Canada, specifically out of Toronto where I grew up. And we had a Sticky Hair Up Guy. So, and his name is George Strompalompoulos. So when you said that, I'm and he's got a funny last name. I'm like,
Right.
it's the other sticky haired up guys. I was just so confused.
There's another one.
Giorgio A. Tsoukalos, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how you say it.
T is not a vowel.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I think it's funny. And my favorite, I used to say all the time, ancient alien theorists theorize, just to be ornery.
I like that.
Yeah, mayonnaise entertainment. When you are raised in a healthy environment, it's all you know. It is your reality. But, the amazing thing is as you meet healthy people or healthier people that are on their path doing the work, then it allows you to see how unhealthy certain situations have been. And there's a lot of people in my life who have suffered a lot of abuse from their parents. And they didn't realize it until they met my mom. And, my brother and sister-in-law and how they parent. And then when it was modeled, they came to that understanding on their own. But yeah, when it's your reality, it's hard for you because it's what you know, especially if you just know it from a child. You don't know anything else. And it's hard when you're a kid. Because you have everything is like Carol said, everything is so big and it's so loud inside of influence, and what is around you is so small. It might just be a few kids in school, your parents, and possibly your church, so you don't have, well, my generation didn't have, this generation that has a lot more, but you just didn't see it. So, please be kind to yourself too. And just know, like, when you know better, you do better, right? Doesn't mean you were wrong. It just means you learned and you go forward. It's like you learn how to crawl, and then when you learn how to walk, you do that. And when you learn how to run, you do that. Not many of us crawl anymore. I mean, maybe occasionally here and there, but so yeah.
There's actually I can't remember the exact comment that Mayonnaise Entertainment had made, but it's saying that it was the hardest to set boundaries on those who were still using in his life.
Yes.
There's a small little thing, if I may read it, that kind of helped me specifically with individuals who I find might have toxic traits that I need to keep away from me. And it says, develop a support system. And I think immediately of the boat and needing a meeting. So peer support. So develop a support system of people who respect your right to set boundaries. Eliminate toxic persons from your life. Those people who want to manipulate you, abuse you, and control you. Setting healthy boundaries allows your true self to emerge. And and basically just explains after that, an exciting journey and how it is that you're learning past that. But I wanted to share that because individuals who are using, they're typically trying to manipulate and control. I don't know if there's the abuse side of it too, but they want you to use with them, right? They want you to be on the same, go back to what it is that you were doing. So,
or just do what they want.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So you're being true to yourself. And I think that you've developed this amazing journey. And I think that you just, as much as it's really hard, and believe me, I really understand, because some of those people who used that I had in my life before, I've reconnected with them, but we never talked about the whole use thing. But now that summer is here and I'm talking about maybe going to visit some people, now it's coming back up. So I can't fully relate with where you're at, Mayonnaise, but just remember that you're on your true path and you're doing what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is amazing that you have navigated that as well as you have. And it sounds like you have. It may not feel like it because, that's part of the design and the flaw of addiction is that, it's their job to make you seem like the bad guy if you're not doing what they want. But, I hope that it's pretty remarkable that you've been able to stay sober and set boundaries with them even. I hope you know how remarkable that is. I really hope you know.
It's unbelievably strong. I don't think I would have been able to do it, to be honest with you. To be blatantly I don't think I would have been able to do it. I needed to change my whole scenery completely.
Yeah, every day is hard. I can imagine. I can only imagine. But great work that you're doing it. And you're going through the hard stuff. And I'm sorry it's hard. That sucks.
Yeah.
Hey, Black Cat. Well, that was, have we said everything we want to say about boundaries? Does anybody in the chat want to come in and, or just talk a little bit more about boundaries, or? Because it kind of feels like we kind of covered it.
I think we did a really thorough job today.
I really enjoyed the topic, I'll be honest.
Right on.
I really like when we're able to, I know that we can't always stay on topic, but when we do have the topic, it's like, oh, I needed that. I actually really needed that.
Right
Friday's coming, and I need to remember that my boundaries are good.
Yeah.
Hey, Christy, a little bird just told me you had you have a channel. Where can people find that?
It's Conversations with Christy, and I had been on earlier, and we were talking about isolation versus solitude. And then tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. No, I lied. 8 p.m. Central. We are doing a premiere talking about Gemini season and the astrology forecast and what that looks like. So it's you'll see me on the boat every once in a while. Not everything I do is lined up with the boat like Needing a Meeting is, but we cover things like self-worth versus self-esteem. We're going to be talking about, I don't have my thing in front of me. We're going to be talking about, what are we talking about? We're talking healthy versus unhealthy relationships.
Yeah, codependency.
Codependency. Yeah. See, guys, my brain sometimes it just. So not only do we talk about that, we did a fun thing on DB Cooper. We did a fun thing on Roswell. We do some fun astrology stuff. So you'll only see, if you're coming over from the boat, you're only going to see on the boat what's appropriate for the boat. So if you haven't subscribed, please consider, because there's a lot of other stuff on there that isn't but related. That's kind of fun. So yeah, thanks for the plug. You know, like it might
link up, Plan Free.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be your vibe, right? It might be your vibe and it might not be your vibe, but we definitely, like I said, have some lifeboat stuff, but we've got a lot of other fun stuff too. So yeah.
Captain Spanks has been on a couple of times as well. I would say more like a good handful of times now. Carol's been on. Actually, tomorrow at noon Eastern, Carol is going to be interviewing Christy on Christy's channel.
Yes. Well, not many people know a lot about me, and I didn't feel right just turning on the camera and yapping about myself for an hour. I mean, I don't know what people want to know. So I thought, who better than one of my dearest friends to interview me and be like, all right, so let's get the lowdown on this. So I don't know what the questions are. I don't know ahead of time. So we're just going to be talking about whatever. So I hope to see you guys there. But on that note, I do think I'm going to hop off because I did my live and then I did this live and then I've got a live in between, and I'm going to eat and probably lay down for a little bit. So
before you go, to clarify, you said it was 9 p.m. Central or 8 p.m. Central, sorry?
8 p.m. Central. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay,
and then the interview tomorrow is 11 a.m. Central. So yep, all my times are Central times. You know, I'm the moving time zone person. Right now I'm stuck in Central time for a little bit. Kind of like that song. What is it? Living on Tulsa time. You know, I'm heading back to the right time zone, so I'm finally in a good one. All right, well, you guys have a wonderful evening. Hopefully I will see you on my premiere. If not, I will probably catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks.
And Crystal,
I'm gonna head out myself. I need to get me some food as well, but I'm gonna let you finish what you were saying. Sorry.
Crystal's going to be on Surviving Together this evening, Surviving Together channel. If anyone wants to come hang out, dealing with child on child SA. Okay. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you. Yeah. But I'm gonna say good night, guys, or good afternoon. I'm Eastern, so I'm like an hour behind Carol, and I don't even know. Like, I know that you are in Arizona,
Arkansas.
Right, Ben? No, you're in Arkansas, Ben, though.
Ben's in Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that time zone. Sorry, Ben. So I have no idea what time it is for you.
Are you on Mountain or Pacific right now? Are you guys on Mountain or Pacific?
We're on Pacific.
Okay.
Because we
is that year round?
We don't ever change our clock, so our time zone, we stay the same. Everybody else moves around us, which I like this. It's one thing about Arizona I like, because I'm lazy, and I'm okay with that. I accept that. My boundary is I do not want a time zone.
Boundary.
Good to see you, Anik. Thank you. Yeah. I'm so happy to see you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for this evening. I appreciate it. And I'm so happy I've been able to catch a few more. So I'm
Right
gonna
on.
keep trying to schedule life a little bit better here if I can,
I
given
hear
life
ya.
keeps going the way it's going.
Right on.
All right, I love you guys. Good night.
Love you
Good
too.
night.
Good night.
Well,
I wish we
gosh,
could change times. They've tried to enact a bill to do away with daylight
yeah.
saving time, but
Well,
I don't know what happens to it. Thank you for being here, Allison. I loved your input so much. I appreciate that.
Bird wanted me to tell you that he hopes your donkey's doing fine, and you have a great day.
You too, Ben.
Take
Good to
care.
see you.
Good to see you.
Short and sweet. This was a great topic. Let me see here if I can get this comment here. Anyway, let's see. Surviving together. That'll be Crystal tonight. What time is that, Crystal? If you'll put it in the chat there. Anyway, kind of scattered all of a sudden. Sorry about that, you guys. Anyway, great topic. I love this topic. And I learned something every time we talk about it as people coming together, you know. There's always more to learn. And thank you guys for being part of this meeting, part of this community. I love you guys and I appreciate each and every one of you and what you bring here. It's beautiful and it's wonderful. And I hope to see you again next meeting. And until then, peace, y'all.